Welcome back to the channel, Kanekis. I hope you're all doing well. I'm joined by a very special guest today, Doug Casey. He's a free market thinker, a very renowned author and investor. His book, Crisis Investing, was ranked as #1 in the New York Times bestseller. And he is joining us today to discuss the markets and society. So, Doug, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Kojo. It's nice to be here with you. I'm usually in Argentina or Uruguay, but at the moment I'm back in the US for the northern summer.
You see, I thought you were in Uruguay when I set up the meeting. That's why I talked about the Uruguay time zone. But it seems you're everywhere, everywhere across the
Well,
world.
I kind of follow the sun, but I've been to well over 150 countries, most of them many times. But frankly, I don't like to travel anymore for lots of reasons. So I mainly just gravitate between the US and South America, depending on the season.
Mm. And what is it about Uruguay and Argentina that attracted you to those places?
Well, I think it's important for everybody to have more than one residence if they can afford it. Most people can't. I understand that.
Yeah.
Uh, and more than one citizenship because your main danger in the world today is political. It's your own government, so that you don't want to be completely under the control of any one state. I mean,
Yeah.
bad things happened to people in Germany in 1933, in Russia in 1917, in Vietnam in 1975, and Cuba in 1959, and a lot of other countries. So
Mm.
that no matter what country you live in, you ought to have a backup system.
I mean, speaking of Germany, the I think it was earlier this year they had an update in their rules that no German citizen can leave the country without first notifying I think it's the Defense Department. They had to get an approval from them.
I think that just applies to younger men, but still, that's very disturbing
It really
and
is.
very disturbing. I mean, the Germany is becoming one of the least free countries in Europe, probably followed by Great Britain, where you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what do you think the reason could be? Is it still the boogeyman Russia they're trying to defend against, or
No, I think that I think that that's a chimera. It's not real. Uh, uh, I mean, look, people are trying to paint Vladimir Putin as the new Hitler, the
mm-hmm.
worst guy in the world. And my feeling is that everybody that's in politics, in generally, certainly if they're the head of a state, uh, are sociopaths. They're not good people. The only people that run countries are dangerous with criminal tendencies. They like to boss other people around.
Mm.
So I'm not saying that Putin is a necessarily a good guy, but he's absolutely no worse. And in fact, I think he may be better than most of the people that run most European countries at this point.
Wow.
And uh, they say, well, what about the attack on the Ukraine? And I'd say that, well, Russia was provoked into that
Yeah.
by the US, quite frankly. People forget the background. In 2014, uh, the US was conducting a color revolution in the Ukraine where they replaced its democratically elected leader. And I hasten to add, I don't believe in democracy as a system, and
Same.
I don't believe in elections. I think it's all nonsense. But anyway, that's who he was. He was replaced, and At that point, the Russian-speaking provinces of the Ukraine seceded. And after they did, the Ukrainian army attacked them, and about 15,000, it was a long-standing war from 2014 to, when did Putin invade? 2022.
Yeah.
Where there were about 14,000 people killed in the Donbass provinces, at which point Putin said, well, it's my obligation to defend Russian people and attack the Ukraine. And that's where it started. And now, of course, the induced by Trump, the European countries are doubling their so-called defense budgets, war budgets, actually. And this is very, very dangerous because the war against Russia could get much bigger, and it could go nuclear. It could be the start of World War III. So I don't know how we got off on that.
Oh, don't worry, Doug. We can go on any tangent.
You mentioned Russia, and I don't see them as being the world's most dangerous bad guy. Actually, I think the United States is the world's most dangerous bad guy right now.
And they keep imposing their ideologies on all the other countries who go to them for loans from the IMF specifically.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the U.S. has an ideology anymore. I mean, the U.S. used to be unique among the world's nations. Why do I say that? Because it was the only country in world history that was overtly founded on the principles of free minds, free markets, and it was in a constitution. But the American Constitution is a dead letter right now.
Yeah.
So it has been for years. So, but you're right. With something like, and we don't know the exact number because this is kind of a national secret, but the estimates are there are about 800 American military bases around the world.
They can't afford it. And that's the thing, they really can't afford it. They're running these bases with debt. They're funding it with debt, and it's impoverishing the American people.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And it used to be that the Chinese and the Japanese and others would lend the U.S. money by buying treasury securities when the U.S. runs deficits. And the U.S. runs $2 trillion plus deficits now. But most countries are selling their U.S. government securities. And that means that the debt has to be sold to the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the U.S. So I see very bad things in store for the U.S. dollar for that reason.
And do you think investors aren't factoring this into your portfolio? Because we're seeing the stock market pretty much at all-time highs. It's come off of it because of bond yield spiking. But do you think investors are a bit complacent considering what's going on, especially with the Middle East?
I do, actually. Look, I tend to look at the market from a long-term historical point of view. I look at everything from that point of view. I mean, people paint me as a bear, a perma-bear. So, oh, you don't like the stock market. You don't like the economy. You don't like real estate. Well, you know, all of these things have treated me very well, quite frankly. So why am I a bear on these subjects? Especially since the longest trend in human history is the ascent of man. It's been going on for 10,000 years since the end of the last ice age. So that's great cause for optimism. Why should that 10,000 year long trend change. As a matter of fact, things have been getting better and better at an accelerating rate over that time. I mean, since the start of the Industrial Revolution in the late 1700s, I mean, it's almost gone vertical, the ascent of man. So why should I be a bear? Things are getting better.
Hmm.
Uh,
What's the answer to that, Doug?
but there's good reasons to be a bear at this point, because to me the great danger in the world today, the enemy of the common man, is the state, the government, the institution itself. I'm not talking about any particular government. I'm talking about the institution itself.
Hmm.
And since just before World War One, which was an utter, complete, and unnecessary catastrophe. Before World War One, anywhere in the world, basically, governments took at most 5, maybe 10% of the gross national product of the country. Now, everywhere in the world, governments take 30, 40, 50. France takes 60% of the GNP. And they use that very destructively. Uh, uh, so, yeah, the reason that the stock market and other markets are high is basically because of currency inflation, because of printing money. You print a bunch of paper money, it's got to go someplace to hide. And
Yeah.
at least the stock market represents real productive wealth. So that's why the stock market is high, mainly. And of
Mm.
course, there have been huge technological breakthroughs and improvements. And this is why, actually, I'm optimistic continually for the long run, because there are two things that improve the standard of living of the average person. One is that the average person, almost everybody, is like a squirrel. We have a genetic tendency to produce more than we consume and save the difference, put it
Yeah.
aside. And the second thing is technology, which is improving at an exponential rate. That's the second thing. But with the actions of government, it's destroying people's savings. People save in their local native currencies, whatever
Yeah.
the currency is. And those currencies are being destroyed worldwide, which is to say, destroying the capital of the people that have saved it. That's catastrophic for the long term. The second thing is that with the money that they take, governments regulate. Forgetting about the wars that destroy capital, they regulate and make it much harder for entrepreneurs to create new wealth, so that the rate of increase of technology may slow down or even go into reverse. So that's my argument for being bearish and bullish both. I try to see both sides of the situation.
I like it. I mean, it's never, black and white. There's always a bit of gray in between. And actually, that point about tech improving, it seems like because of government spending, the tech improving is around surveillance and war, which is not exactly what the free market would have put that capital into.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's very disturbing. Everything is being monitored uh, in every city in the world. There are millions of cameras that are
Hmm.
watching you, and that's one reason why the data banks that are being constructed all over the world now, giant data banks at huge expense, not just billions, not tens of billions, even trillions of dollars are being spent in these data storage centers. And they're not being used mainly further improvements in science, technology, or mathematics, medicine, they're mainly being used to control the common man. So, I'm a fan of AI. I think artificial intelligence is important for the next jump upwards of humanity. But it's got a downside too. And that's what we're seeing now.
What are the main downsides that people aren't factoring in around AI?
Well, the big downside I see is it's being used by the state and people around the state to control their fellow humans. Of course, mostly people talk about that these machines, these large language models, as they're called, becoming so intelligent that they're going to start making decisions for people and controlling people. I see the danger of that because the whole world runs on computers today. I mean, everything from the utilities that keep us warm to let us communicate to the financial system. It's all on computers. And if AI takes on a life of its own, and maybe it will, then who's in charge here? But that's a possibility. But I'm more worried about what's done with the data by the kind of people that control governments. I think that's a bigger danger.
I mean, like you said at the top of this interview, governments, the power tends to attract the morally corrupt in society. And these are the people who are leaving in charge of all this data around people's personal lives. Can
Pretty
only
much.
imagine.
Yeah,
Can only
pretty much.
imagine.
That's right.
Wow. And there's also the downside of around jobs. We're seeing mass layoffs. People are experiencing a crisis of meaning. Elon Musk himself said in the future. I don't know how accurate this will this will actually be, but he said in the future, most people's issue won't actually be around like getting resources. It's going to be around crisis of meaning because they will be losing their jobs to AI.
Uh, uh, Crisis of meaning, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I I'm not. Yeah. So I know Elon is predicting that in the not too distant future, there will be hundreds of millions of robots out there, and the robots will perform all the dog work, manual labor, do everything for us, and they'll create so much more wealth so cheaply and efficiently that we won't have to work anymore. Is that what you mean by crisis of
Yeah.
meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can see that because work and creating things of value, that's part of what makes us human beings.
Yeah.
So
They
if
go
it
hand in
becomes
hand.
unnecessary, since people are, listen, we're all lazy. I'm lazy. Everybody's basically lazy. And if you don't have to create and work, okay, I'll just play games all day or sit around. Free food, place to live. Hey, life. Yeah, there's downside. That kind of downside too. Right.
But it gets old after a point, doesn't it? Like for me, after a 2 week holiday, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to work. So if we're telling people they no longer have to work, what do they do? Is it more of helping out in the
Well,
community or
listen, once again, Kojo, I don't want to draw this back to the institution of the state again.
oh,
But
feel
if
free.
there's all this wealth out there being created, who owns it? Okay, who owns it? Uh, and who designates who gets what? I mean, they talk about a universal basic income for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so who decides how much everybody gets. Does everybody get the same, even if they consume more and produce less? Well, this is what the government is going to delegate to themselves to do. So we could easily find ourselves in a world, a variety of 1984, where except 1984 with a high standard of living, okay, a higher standard of living anyway. The big danger is our fellow human beings. It's not technology. Technology's always historically been the friend of the average man. I mean, people say, well, what about gunpowder? Gunpowder's killed a lot of people. Okay, that's right. But the bright side of gunpowder is that it, for the first time, allowed the common man to take off to kill the armored knight on horseback. It leveled the playing field for the average guy so that the ruling classes couldn't keep him down, because everybody could get a hold of gunpowder to take out the castle on the hill. And the printing press. I mean, the downside of the printing press is that I don't think there was any. There is no downside to the printing press. That's technology too. It liberated the average guy by making knowledge available to him that previously only the ruling classes and the priests could control handwritten books. It democratized, and once again, I'm not a fan of democracy, but it democratized knowledge so everybody could have knowledge. And the computer, really dangerous. That's what we've been talking about, is the dangers of the computer and AI. But at the same time, now all of the knowledge in the world is available to absolutely everybody in the world, just about for free. So, I'm a big fan of technology, but they're dangers. They're dangers. Mostly dangers that come from our fellow humans, who are the ones who are bad character and busybodies and people that want to control other people. That's the danger. It's not technology.
That leads me on to my next question very nicely. So, our mutual friend Rick Rule asked me to bring this question up to you because he was quite interested in hearing your thoughts about it. It's on the concept of Phyles. So, for the audience, that's Phyles.
Yes.
Could you please talk to the audience about Phyles and, just an overview about it and what you believe would trigger the onset of it?
Well, Phyles, that's a term that was created by the science fiction writer Neil Stephenson, who's a really brilliant guy. I'd say that Stephenson, I'm a fan of science fiction, incidentally. And I would say that Stephenson is in a class with people like Robert Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke. He's of that quality. Okay, so he coined that term in a book that he wrote called Diamond Age, about the near future, where humanity no longer organizes itself by country. It organizes itself by files. And a file is something that whatever's important to you, whether what's important to you is your occupation or your religion or your philosophical beliefs or a hobby or where you live or anything. There's an infinite number of things that are important to people.
Yeah.
And what he posits, and I think it's happening, is that because the people I talk to personally are the people that we share important things and are of interest to us. And I stay in communication with them, and everybody does this. Everywhere in the world, everybody does this. So what a file is in the future, enabled by things like the internet and computers is people will realign themselves, not according to whether they're an American or a Brazilian or a Vietnamese. They'll align themselves according to files. And these files will protect each other, defend each other, work with each other. I mean, you see this actually now, and have for many years, with certain groups like very religious Jews. They don't deal with anybody but other religious Jews. They work with each other. Everybody else is an enemy. Mormons are the same way. They prefer to deal just with each other, not with anybody else. The other people are Gentiles, but they're the chosen.
Yeah.
Well, Phyles would, I think the world is going in that direction. People are going to put themselves together in these groups like that. Actually, one reason the Jews and the Mormons, to pick two examples, have been so successful is because they work together. They share a bond, Okay, so I think that's the way the world is, because I don't feel a lot of loyalty to my fellow Americans. Why should I? I mean, in fact, my fellow Americans are the biggest danger to me. They promote the government to, elect these crazy politicians that tax me and regulate me. I mean, frankly, I feel like I have more in common with a Russian or a Nigerian or an Indian that I don't know than with some American here who thinks he can control me.
Interesting. And on that point about control, it just seems like society has a strong aversion to people who want to be left alone.
Yes, they do. Especially, that's right, Kojo, and especially in times of war. What happens is that if there's a war and let's say you're a Frenchman and France is fighting against everybody else, either you support the group or the group sees you as a danger, as a traitor.
Yeah.
So for people that are individually oriented and people that don't want to join some crazy arbitrary group, the kind of times I think we're going into now are very dangerous for individually oriented people. Because I don't want to do something, I don't feel the Iranians are my enemy just because Donald Trump and the US government think they're my enemy.
I agree. I mean, neither do I see Russia as an enemy, because, I mean, to be fair, just from my personal experience, I've interacted with Russians. They're really nice people. So for the European government to tell me, no, Russians are bad and you should sanction them and, freeze them out, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. No, listen, we're in total agreement. Listen, from talking to you this a little bit, we've never talked before. I presume that you're a libertarian.
Yes, sir. Libertarian, gold and silver investor. That is me. I mean, I've read Hayek, I haven't read Mises yet, but because I watched the Mises Institute, more or less I've consumed his lectures and stuff. So I mean, it's for me, it's rooted more in my Christian faith. It comes back to free will, because I mean, free will is something that's God given, and in society today, people want to impose their free will on mine, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Of course, when it comes to Mises, he's very hard to read. He writes in a very stilted.
Hayek too, very hard.
Yeah, it's better. I think it's better to read Murray Rothbard if you've ever read much of this stuff. He's
What has government done to our money?
Good thinker.
Great.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Ghana. Born in Ghana, but I moved around West Africa because of my dad's job. Then I came to the UK in 2012, and I've been here ever since.
Uh, well, I was in Ghana. How long ago? Goodness. I was in Ghana probably in the late 90s when I was playing polo because the Accra polo team, polo club, invited the club from Stowe, Vermont to come and play polo with them, which we did.
Okay.
I wasn't living in Stowe, but Stowe couldn't find 4 players, and I was an asset. So a friend of mine who lived in Stowe said, "Come and join." So actually, it was the first actual tournament I played. It was in Accra, Ghana, for what
What are
it's
your
worth.
thoughts of the country? I know it's wildly different now than in the
Oh,
1990s. Well,
I'm sure it is. I mean, when's the last time I was in West Africa? I think probably, God, it could have been 10 years ago. It was before the COVID hysteria. I went to Mauritania and
okay.
we drove. I spent a week in Mauritania and then we drove down to Senegal uh, after that. So, uh, yeah, and had been in Senegal before and it had changed greatly. So I'm sure Ghana has changed just as greatly. But
Yeah.
I'm not optimistic about the future of Africa, to tell you the truth.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Well, for ever since the 1960s, up until then, Africa was all colonies, all European colonies. And as often happens with colonies, it was exploited. It was hardly free market stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but was it really exploited? Because on the one hand, uh, before the Europeans came, the Africans had nothing. Uh, there's a joke. You want me to tell you a politically incorrect joke?
Phil, Rick warned me, so feel free. Go on. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Yeah, because a lot of Africans today are saying we hate these damned Europeans. I mean,
Mhm.
they just steal from us and exploit us. But I'd say that Africans should be eternally grateful to Europeans if when Da Gama was rounding the Cape of Good Hope, he just thrown out a wheel because they didn't even have wheels. But that wouldn't have helped because uh, he would have had to have thrown out an instruction book on how to use it, but they couldn't read it because they didn't have reading or
The
writing
same
either.
language.
So Africa has always been very backward. And so anyway, was it a good thing or a bad thing? The European invasion of Africa, which is what it was. It was an invasion.
Yeah.
And well, it's a double-edged sword. If it had been just free trade, where traders land on wherever in Africa and buy and sell voluntarily with the natives for whatever they have, both Europeans and Africans would have been ahead of the game. But that's not the way it worked. The Europeans
It really
conquered
wasn't.
because
Yeah.
they had better technology. They were able to conquer. Okay. All right. So let's put it this way. Unfortunately, it wasn't built on free trade. It was built on conquest. So the Africans have a very good point about being exploited from that point of view. But since the 1960s, Africa's been a black hole for capital, a one-way street where the rest of the world, primarily Europe and America, but the Orient too,
China's in there as well.
China now too, yeah, now recently especially,
Mhm.
uh, send capital there and build things. But the fact is that most African languages, I'm told, don't have a word for maintenance. It's not
Really?
Well, that's what I'm told. I mean, I don't speak any African languages, so
I'm
maybe
sure.
maybe this is just a racist law. Or on the other hand, the culture with from even 100 years ago, maintenance. I don't know, but I think we're gonna see in Africa for the years to come is lots of wars. The problem being that, and once again, this is what the Europeans did to the Africans. They created these completely artificial countries.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, other than maybe Ethiopia. Uh, there's not one country in Africa that is constructed according to the language and ethnicities of the local people. I mean, it was the borders of African countries were drawn in Europe 100 years ago with lines that
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the people that live there, anything. So now what's happened is every country in Africa has two or three or 50 or 100 separate national groups that speak different languages, different cultures. And because socialism has taken over Africa and much of the world, they all try to get control of the government so that their group can steal from everybody else. And that's not a formula for success. And they're going to wind up fighting with each other within each other. Well, what happened in Rwanda, I mean, that's kind of what's happening in the Congo
South
today.
Africa.
South Africa, that's right. You got what is it? 14 tribes in South Africa, 12, 12 black and 2 white. And I don't think any of them really get along with each other.
No. And in Nigeria, there are about 200 languages. And in the north, the Christians and Muslims are having sort of conflicts going on there. And
Exactly. And of course, that's an import from abroad too. Both Mohammedanism and Christianity are imports. They're not
yeah,
native African religions.
that's true.
So I don't think Africa's got a good future. It's the only place in the world where the population is still expanding and expanding rapidly, but they're expanding much faster than they can produce. I think they're being subsidized by these foreigners that are, I think it's really stupid, that are, oh, we can't let them starve to death. Oh, we have to keep them from dying of diseases. Hey, this isn't for Europeans because they're guilty about the past to do these
Mm.
things. It's destructive. This is something Africans have to learn for themselves. And so it's like the
Ah,
welfare system in the US. I mean, it's mainly Black people, not entirely, but predominantly it's Black people that are recipients of welfare. And you say, is that a good thing? No, it's destroyed. It's destroyed the Black people in the US welfare. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah, especially the laws around I believe it's childcare. So single mothers are actually better off. Sorry, mothers are actually better off divorcing the dads and going on welfare than they are staying in the family because
you're
that's
right.
how it's been set up.
Exactly. That's right. That's why Black kids grow up without a father because it's economically stupid for the father to stay in the house.
Yeah.
And then
It's
that creates all kinds of other serious problems when the
then
father
you have
goes
the
away.
drugs, yeah,
Yeah,
drugs and gangs and killing.
yeah.
I mean, Doug, you see, the phenomenal thing here is you're saying exactly what is on my mind and what I've been talking about on my channel, but the truth is very hard to swallow, especially as an African, because it really pains me when I think about conditions back home and with African Americans as well. And you're exactly right. The incentives, if you look at the incentives, you'll be able to understand the actions people will take.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And these negative incentives are actually what's created all of the resentment and hatred that we see between races now.
Mm.
Because it's funny, I thought for a while, it seemed to me that racism was kind of dying and going away as the world, uh, but no, it's come back where there's a lot of race hatred. Uh,
Especially online.
yeah,
Especially online.
exactly. And the problem is politics. Politics and the state is the poison everywhere.
So, but do you think there is a what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel for Africa specifically in this system of files? So if we get the politics out of the way, the government out of the way, because I might be biased, but I know our people are very resourceful. So if we could get the bad actors out of the way, do you think we could end up using our own resources in the free market to pull ahead?
Yeah, well, people have to because it's funny. Uh, North America is one of the best places in the world to live. Its climate is it's got North America's a geographically very favored place. About when the English came to North America to start with, at Jamestown, for instance, um, uh, which is incidentally where I am right now. I'm very close to where the English came here in
Mm-hmm,
Virginia on the
mm-hmm.
water. Uh, this is a place that's got everything. It's got wood and fresh water and crabs and deer and oysters and I mean, I asked myself, how could you starve to death here? But when the English first came to Jamestown, they almost starved to death. Why? Because it was a socialist system, and uh, it was everybody was attempting to live at the expense of everybody else, and it's only when Captain John Smith said, "This is ridiculous. You don't
Mm-hmm.
work, you don't eat. So we're not going to have common ground for crops. Everybody has their own uh, little farm, and you take care of it."
Yeah.
And things changed, and they became they became prosperous. You'd think that everybody would have learned from that lesson, but no. I mean, it sounds too good from each according to his ability, and to each.
According to his means.
That sounds good. That's not the way the world works.
Yo, I mean, even biblically, the Bible says if a man doesn't work, he won't eat. So we know that. I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to say or insinuate anything, but I don't think socialism is a biblical thing. It doesn't
No,
sound like a very biblical teaching.
no. Socialism, it's poison,
Yeah.
and it's really disturbing here in the U.S. They've taken polls that show that about a third of young Americans um, think communism's a good thing, and about two-thirds, uh, another third think, yeah, socialism's probably okay, nothing wrong with it. Uh, and that's here in the US. And one of the
Wow.
reasons for that is that uh, in the US, I forget what percentage, but it's almost half uh, of young people, uh, once they graduate from high school, those that graduate from high school go on to college of some type. And college is a cesspool where, where they're corrupted. I mean, everybody says, no, you want to go to college. It's your ticket to success in the future. And that may have been the case 50 years ago, certainly 100 years ago. but not today. I went to college at what they say is one of the best universities in the US. Well, it's not. I went to Georgetown. It's bullshit. It's a second-rate university and always has been. Even though it was founded in 1789, it was second-rate then and third-rate today. But the thing is that I advise, listen, I don't know if Rick told you, this is my most recent book. Can I do a commercial?
Oh, please, it's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about. So go
Yeah.
on. Go on.
I'll send you a copy of it electronically. Okay.
Wow, thank you very much, Doug.
I shouldn't say that because everybody else that wants one has to buy it.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, this book is called The Preparation, and I wrote it with Matt Smith, who is my podcast partner. I don't know. Have you ever seen our podcast, Kojo?
I watched the one you just did with Rick about Battle Bank. Is that the one?
Wow. Okay. Well, that was about that was about Battle Bank, but Matt Smith, who's my co-author on this book, with his son Maxim.
Okay.
We do a podcast together. Anyway, what this book is about is it tells young men, especially young men, why they shouldn't go to college, why college is not only a mistake, it's a disaster. But more importantly, this book tells them what they should do during that 4-year period of time, which is, I would say, perhaps the most important 4 years of your life because you're becoming an adult. And what we suggest people do is instead of going to a college where you sit in some class and listen to a Marxist professor lecture to you while you fall asleep, we divide this 4 years of college into 16 quarters. And in each quarter, you learn, even while you're learning skills like chemistry, biology, history, that's part of this, a big part of it. But you're learning skills like 1 quarter, you learn to be a pilot. 1 quarter, you learn how to build a house. 1 quarter, you learn how to become a chef. Doesn't mean you're going to be a chef in the future, but if you had to start a restaurant or cook, you'll be able to do it really well. 1 quarter is like an MBA course where you're learning about the stock market, which people don't learn about in college, and accounting and business administration. So by the end of that 16 quarters of time, you've become a Renaissance man who can go anywhere and do anything. And that's how you should spend the time. And you won't have a huge albatross of debt around your neck. In England, it may be different, but in the U.S.,
same here.
Same thing. Yeah. People have to borrow to go to college and be indoctrinated with total shit. I mean, it's disgusting. So that's what this book is about, and it's my most recent book. And I also have written, not with Matt Smith, but with John Hunt, another friend of mine, a series of novels. I don't know. Did you know that?
Yes. There were others I saw apart from Crisis Investing. Feel free to talk about them.
Well, I've written a series of novels with John Hunt that take our hero from the age of about 18 through his life and how he becomes rich and famous. And it starts out with Speculator, where he's interested in mining stocks and gets involved in one that looks really good, and he makes some money. He starts from nothing, and he goes to West Africa, and it turns out that it's a mining fraud. So he gets involved in a bush war, and anyway, and then later, the second novel is called Drug Lord, where now that I'm trying to reform the unjustly besmirched reputations of highly politically incorrect occupations. Nobody's supposed to like speculators. They're supposed to be bad guys. We show you can be a good guy. And the second novel, he becomes a drug lord. I mean, that's supposed to be bad, both legal and illegal drugs, both. So he winds up doing a couple of years in prison because of that.
Okay.
And then he's pissed off, and he becomes, third book, becomes Assassin, which is the name of the third book. We talk about, among other things, the morality of being an assassin. And the next one we're working on now is called Terrorist.
This character arc, it just keeps getting.
Because I have a lot of theories about terrorism as a method of warfare. And if you're accused of being a terrorist today, you're in a lot of trouble. So,
I mean,
so anyway, I think those books would interest you probably.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I just like the fact that it's aimed at young men, because just so the audience understands the situation young men are facing.
Well, who are your listeners, Kojo? Who do you figure your listeners are?
To be fair, in terms of the economics ones, probably 24 to 35. But because I was doing gaming, I also have some people who are teenagers who sometimes listen in. So it's going to be very relevant for them. And
how do they find you? How do your listeners?
So most of them would have come through reaction videos I do and gaming videos. So usually like PlayStation games, and then I transitioned into economics because I figured, go on.
That's very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, because as I was learning about economics, I was like, okay, the people I'm serving with my entertainment need to know about this, because it's way more important than the reactions in gaming. I mean, I still do the reactions side by side so that more people can come in and be exposed to it. Even if they just see the thumbnail, at least it's in their consciousness. So maybe later down the line, they don't go on into exploring it because they've seen a thumbnail talking about it. But just that point about young men.
Listen, living in England as you do, and being a libertarian, I expect that it's very hard for you to have a conversation about philosophy with most people because they don't understand, do they?
Yeah, Doug. So that's one of the things. Very vulnerable to be vulnerable. In the UK, I do experience a lot of loneliness because of that. It's one of the things that I try to, work around. So I go to church more often, and church helps. But outside of church, the everyday life, it's very hard to connect with other people because of that. Most people are either socialists or communists way on the left. So it's it's very difficult to talk things out, especially in today's society where if you're not of that mind, it's like, oh, you're a complete enemy and whatever you say is evil, and you don't want the betterment of society, you're out for yourself. But no, it's not really that. Not really that at all.
I completely agree. It's a problem when you're a rounding error and everybody else. Yeah. And it's going to get tougher for people like us as the economy goes downhill, which I believe it is. And as we have more wars, I mean, it's not just in the Ukraine, but now this thing between the US and Israel and Iran, that's not going to end soon.
I mean, I think he said 38 times that they're close to a deal since March. 38.
Yeah, Trump is, I'm afraid he's mentally, there's something wrong with him. The things he does, the way he sends out tweets in capital letters and exclamation points.
Oh, he's a psychopath. He is for sure a psychopath.
Yeah, and sure. I don't vote. I don't believe in voting for lots of reasons. But between him and Kamala Harris, I thought, well, Trump has got to be better, because the lies that he told before he was elected were so appealing. He says, I want to eliminate the income tax. I'm gonna cut waste from the government. No more foreign wars. No more. and they're all lies. He's a pathological, skilled, and enthusiastic liar. He's a criminal personality. But on the bright side, he's got a funny sense of humor. I mean,
He is
it's
funny, that.
quite amusing watching him. He wasn't so dangerous. I mean,
Well, that's why he was a reality TV star with The Apprentice.
yeah,
So, yeah.
that's right. That's right. He's had a lot of practice.
Yeah. I mean, just before we wrap up, there's some key stats I wanted to read out about young men and what they're facing currently because it relates very well to your book, The Preparation. And just around uni, women earn about 60% of all bachelor's degrees. Women are 11 percentage points more likely to finish college than young men. That's within 4 years. And in the UK, 13.3% of 16 to 24-year-olds are what they call NEETs. So that's not in education, employment, or training. And I mean, just the crisis around young men, and we know weak men create hard times. What's the message you'd like to leave the young men watching this and people who have younger brothers, cousins, nephews? What message would you like to send them?
Yeah. Well, don't do what everybody else is doing. And so I suggest people get a hold of a copy of the preparation and read what they should do if they want to
Mm,
be competent, confident, and dangerous, and successful, and wealthy, and become a Renaissance man. That's what you want to do, not just hang out with your buds and go to college and think that somebody will give you a job. I mean, everybody should be self-employed as well,
mm,
not looking to get a job from somebody else. That's degrading, quite frankly. So it's an attitude. It's a personal philosophy that I think people should look to adopt. And I guess that's my message. And it's in the novels that that I've written, and it's in my investment books, and and also I don't know. Do you are you familiar with my blog internationalman.com?
yes, yes, that's where I read the concept of files. So
Ah,
plug it
okay.
as well.
So everybody that's listening should subscribe to that because it's
I
free.
recommend.
Uh, I write articles. We have free articles every day. They're really good. So that's one thing. And on YouTube, Matt Smith and I do a podcast once or twice a week. So
Okay.
anybody that, if you like the kind of stuff I'm saying, you ought to subscribe to all these things. They're all free. And if you don't, well, that's okay. I mean, I don't care.
Free will. Free will. Doug,
Exactly.
you're a class act. We have to do this again in the future. Phenomenal.
Well, Kojo, it's a rare and frankly, I didn't know really who you were,
I thought
but
Rick would have told you.
no, I haven't talked to Rick. He just sent me an email. He said you
Ah,
ought to
okay.
be on Kojo's podcast, and I didn't know. You know,
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Doug, thank you very much for your time.
Kojo. Talk to you later.